Yamunativa Vanachari. Yamunativa Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Nectar of Devotion. This title is called Techniques of Hearing and Remembering. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 29th chapter, verse 40, the importance of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. My dear king, one should stay at a place where the great acharyas, holy teachers, speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlight faces of such great personalities. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become freed from all material hunger, thirst, fear, and lamentation, as well as all illusions of material existence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas which are formally recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self-realized, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. This is a metaphor used in the above verse. Bhakti Rasamindra Sindhu Ki Jai. Shri Nectar of Devotion Ki Jai. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, chapter 10, verse 12. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Text 12. Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyas Tvam Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyas Tvam Avashya Mam Atmani Satam Ekam Avashya Mam Atmani Santam Ekam Avashya Mam Atmani Satam Ekam Sarveshu Bhuteshvu Adiyagram Isham Sarveshu Bhuteshvu Adiganam Isham Sarveshu Bhuteshvu Adiganam Isham Yajasva Yogana Cha Kama Hinvan Yajasya Yogana Sri Shikognitai Maya Posasheki Yajasva Yogana Cha Hinvan Yajasva Yogana Cha Kama Hinvan Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyastvam Avashya Mam Atmani Santam Ikam Sarveshu Bhuteshvu Adiganam Isham Yajasva Yogana Chakama Hinvam Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyastvam Avashya Mam Atmani Santamikam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Adiganam Isham Yajasva Yogana Chakama Himvam Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyastvam Avashya Mam Atmani Santam Ikam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Adiganam Isham Avashya Gokana Yikam Hivan Kata Madhya Jusamana Priyastvam Avashya Mam Atmani Santam Ikam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Adiganam Isham Yogashva Yoga Kama Chikama Hivam Kata Midya Jusamena Priyastvam Ivashya Mam Itmani Santam Ekam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Adiganam Isham Yogashva Yoga Kama Hivam. So I'll do the word for word. Kata, messages or instructions. Madhya, given by me. Jusamana, always hearing or contemplating. Priya, extremely pleasing. Tvam, yourself. Aveshya, being fully absorbed in me. Mam, me. Atmanani, within the core of your heart. Santam, existing. Ekam, one, the same Supreme Soul. Sarveshu, in all. Bhuteshvu, living entities. Adiyaganam, the enjoyer of all ritualistic ceremonies. Isham, the Supreme Lord. Yajasva, worship. Yogena, by. Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. Cha, also. Karma, fruit of activities. Hinvan, giving up. Translation. It does not matter that you are in the material world. You should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me, and always be absorbed in thought of me, for I am the super soul existing in the core of everyone's heart. Therefore, give up fruitive activities and worship me. So I'll take you through it again. This time, when I read a section, you have to repeat it. Translation. It does not matter that you are in the material world. You should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me, and always be absorbed in thought of me. For I am the super soul, existing in the core of everyone's heart. Therefore, give up fruitive activities and worship me. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When a devotee becomes materially very opulent, one should not think that he is enjoying the results of his fruitive activities. A devotee in this material world uses all material opulences for the service of the Lord, because he is planning how to serve the Lord with these opulences, as advised by the Lord himself. Whatever material opulence is within his possession, he engages to expand the glories and service of the Lord. A devotee never performs any fruitive or ritualistic ceremony to enjoy the results of such karma. Rather, a devotee knows that karma kanda is meant for the less intelligent man. Narottama Das Thakur says in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Vishara Banda. Both Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, fruitive activities and speculation about the Supreme Lord, are like pots of poison. One who is attracted to Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda spoils his existence as a human being. Therefore, a devotee is never interested in Karma Kanda or Jnana Kanda, but is simply interested in favorable service to the Lord. Anukulyane Krishna Silanam, or cultivation of spiritual activities in devotional service. I'll just read the translation once again. It does not matter that you are in the material world. You should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me, and always be absorbed in thought of me, for I am the super soul existing in the core of everyone's heart. Therefore, give up fruitive activities and worship me. Amagana Timirandasya Janajana Salakaya Chakshurum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvashesha Sanyavadi Prashakta Satarane. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now I'll try to give class on this purport in the verse. So My class is going to be split into two halves. In the first half, I'm going to speak on general matters related to the verse and the purport. In the second half, I'll try to deal specifically with the verse and the purport. So in this class, I'm going to try to present spirituality practically. I'm going to make it so it's Dira Adiras Jana Priya, that is popular with both ruffians and the gentleman. So Chanyaka Pandit said that the foundation to true wisdom rests on just three things. These things are that one should see another's man as another's wife as his mother. One should regard another's possessions as being like a lump of dirt thrown out in the street, and one should treat everybody else as he would like to be treated by themselves. Srila Prabhupada compared the living human entity to a dog. That is because a dog sometimes he gets treated very nicely by his owner. He gets groomed, he gets fed properly, lots of rest, lots of walks. Sometimes in America, the dog even gets left a mention in the owner's will. But other times, the dog gets treated just like in India. The dogs aren't regarded as household pets. They're just there, wild animals thrown out into the street. On the subject of dogs, I'd like to tell a little story about something that I read in the news just recently. This is a true story, and because you just couldn't make it up, no matter what. So in France recently, a very famous French film star died, and he was very keen about his dogs. He was specifically keen about a breed of dog called the Malinois. That's the Malinois is like a French-Belgian breed of dog. It's equivalent to our German Shepherd. So, like I say, this French film star was very successful in his life. He owned a big chateau in the countryside. In this chateau, he had a church with a graveyard, and in this graveyard was buried the remains of about 30 of his Malinois. When he died, he left a provision in his will that when he died, his current Malinois was to be put down and buried beside him in the grave. He was once asked by a newspaper reporter on the subject of reincarnation, if there is such a thing as reincarnation, what would you like to come back as? He replied without hesitation, a Malinois. So we can see really that this poor man, there's a situation in life that Srila Prabhupada describes, that a person can be materially very opulent, but he can be spiritually bankrupt, and which is what I regard as happening to this man. He's suffering from a poor fund of knowledge, basically. And how is that? Because Dehino Smim Yati Deha, Kamran Yavana Jara, Tata Dehantraha Prakdir, Diras Tatra Nuyamate. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly at death, the soul passes into another body. A sober man is not bewildered by such a change. So what it is in our culture, we believe that basically you have another life after this one. You know that like I say in the verse, your soul passes into another body at death. So when I say that this film star was suffering from a poor fund of knowledge, you know, he stood the risk of being reincarnated as a dog in his next life. So also that would be sort of that would be like abominable to somebody who's practicing Krishna consciousness, to have the next body of a dog. It would just be unacceptable. So I'm going to ask a question here. Has anybody ever worked in a factory? Just one person, because factory work is described. Factories are described as being the repository of Ugra Karma by Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada mentions that one shouldn't endeavor for Ugra Karma. So Ugra Karma means vicious activities. The extension of the factory is to be found in the slaughterhouse. And obviously that's a very grossly unpleasant place to work in. However, factory work has its demerits as well. It's obviously not the greatest of work that one can do. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point that one shouldn't endeavor for Ugra Karma, because the main necessities of life can't be produced in a factory. The main necessities of life are rice, wheat, grains, milk, fruits, and vegetables, whereas a factory is just making inanimate things that can't be eaten. And so I'm going to ask another question here. Has anybody ever been refused entry to a nightclub by a bouncer? Yeah, a few people are saying yeah, because I'm specifically mentioning this one because they say that this material world is but an inferior reflection of the spiritual world, and the temples in this world are like the sort of the outposts of the spiritual world in this world. Can anybody perhaps see the point that I'm trying to make? Because so when I say that the temples in India, some temples have a rule that you just can't be admitted to them if you're not. If you say in Jagannath Puri, there's the rule that you can't come into the main temple itself unless you're actually a Hindu of Indian appearance. Has anybody ever had the experience of somebody in their family having planned and executed a really expensive wedding, and just a couple of years later they've been divorced? Because that's becoming more common today. I mean, you can see that these people they're suffering from a poor fund of knowledge, definitely. But we also have the situation where people are desiring to lord it over the laws of material nature. And we can see that in society today. There's like a widespread practice of cosmetic surgery. People are getting cosmetic surgery to make them look more attractive. It's becoming very much desirable to have a few procedures done on your face, on your teeth, on other parts of your body. However, so my point is that these people are suffering from a poor fund of knowledge. They're desiring to lord over the laws of material nature, because everybody's going to get old, aren't they? Some people just can't be so attractive. They can't be like what you call drop dead gorgeous. So these cosmetic surgeries, a lot of people having them and regretting down the line a few years later. They're thinking, oh God, why did I have that? Why did I have that surgery done? So the point I'm trying to make here is that yes, Krishna consciousness is a desirable state of mind, a desirable state of being, because people practicing Krishna consciousness, they're not under the desire to lord over the laws of material nature. They're accepting that they've got a good fund of knowledge about what's going to happen to them in the life and what have you. Also, Prabhupada mentioned that politicians never get the desired result. They're always frustrated in their endeavours. And I was thinking we could perhaps see that from looking at the example of the SNP in Scotland, because their big thing a few years ago was that Scotland is going to become independent from England. But that never happened. And recently, the SNP have been sort of falling away from power in Scotland. However, Srila Prabhupada mentions that all politicians are second-class men. So what does he mean by that, really? That all politicians are second-class men? He's meaning that nowadays, there's at one time when Varnashra Dharma was current in society, that there was there's 4 layers of society: Brahmanas, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Sudras. And the Brahmanas will be able to advise people, but nowadays, because the Varnashram system isn't so prevalent, the Brahmanas aren't around to give good advice to people. So when he says politicians are all second-class men, he's meaning that in the current age, the Kali Yuga, what was at one time the yardstick of society has fallen away. So that what was once prevalent in society, whereas the Brahmanas were available to advise the Kshatriyas on how to rule a kingdom, that's no longer there. So I can see that one other thing that I'd like to introduce here, that there's 4 mistakes of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is hampered by his senses are imperfect. He's suffering from being illusioned. He's suffering from a cheating mentality, and he's suffering from making mistakes. This means that the conditioned soul can never overcome these mistakes, and he's always going to be hampered by them. Always going to be hampered by making mistakes, being illusioned, the cheating mentality, and the imperfect senses. So he's not going to be able to give the proper guidance that we can find in the Vedic version. Vaisheshika Prabhu advises that we ask 4 questions. These questions are that one should ask: what is my purpose? What's the lesson? How can I be of service? And where's the best investment of my attention? If we ask ourselves these 4 questions on a daily basis, or we're always mindful of these questions, we won't fall into some of the mistakes that the conditioned souls very easily mistake. So now I'm going to try and deal with the purport specifically. Rajavija Rajaguyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Prataksagadagadagan Dhamyam Sisukam Kartam Avayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. I was thinking we could perhaps look at the verse and the purport through the sort of through the vehicle of that verse. This knowledge is the this knowledge is the this knowledge is the is the most perfect knowledge, the most secret of secrets. So we can see that it's the king of education very easily, because one can train perhaps as a doctor, as a great businessman, perhaps, but all their endeavors are going to be in vain unless they're mindful of what's the Vedic version. That basically this life is not going to be the end of their existence. This knowledge is the most perfect knowledge. Yes, it's definitely the most perfect knowledge. It's the king of education. And how do I say that? Because unless you're mindful of this knowledge, all your endeavors in this life could be in vain. We can see very easily through studying this chapter that Hiranyakashipu, although at one time he was very powerful, all the demigods used to tremble when he raised his eyebrow. He didn't achieve. He didn't achieve. Well, basically, he tortured his son because his son was mindful of the Vedic version. You know, he met a dreadful end at Hiranyakashipu's fingernails. Shumade's fingernails. So this knowledge is the king of education. Yes, it definitely is, because one should always be mindful of this king of education. Otherwise, all one's endeavors in this material world may very well be in vain. One can train as a great soldier, perhaps a great statesman, unless one's mindful of this king of education. All your endeavors are going to be in vain, really. You'll never get to know who Krishna is, what's the desired goal of the Vedic version, what's the desired goal of the Vedic knowledge. So it's the most secret of secrets. Yes, it definitely is. Hiranyakashipu wasn't mindful of this most secret of secrets. If he had, he may well have lived differently. But although Hiranyakashipu enjoyed very great success, it just wasn't. It came to a very bad end, really. At Shumade's fingernails. Like I say, this knowledge is the most secret of secrets. 60 years ago, a certain Swami in India was making preparations to come to the Western world, so he could carry out the orders of his spiritual master, which was to preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world. So 60 years ago in Great Britain, the Western world, this knowledge was still very, very, very rarely even contemplated by men. It was a little bit more prevalent in India, but it still remains the most secret of secrets. It's still not very well known in the Western world. It is the purest knowledge. Yes, it definitely is the purest knowledge. It's come down the chain of parampara. It's the knowledge in this purport and in this chapter has been passed down through the chain of parampara, which means it's been passed down from spiritual master to spiritual master, from Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma, to Narada Muni to Srila Vyasadeva, through these all the, so that the message has remained the same despite it being passed down through this chain of disciplic succession. The basic message has remained the same. Because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. It is a perfection of religion. Yes, it's definitely the perfection of religion. Being in ignorance of the Vedic version means that you're going to live in vain. Really, you stand the chance of being well. The aim of the Krishna consciousness movement is to educate people about the reality of the of the soul. Really, the soul passes into another body at death, unless, of course, you can break the chain of samsara and go back to Godhead in this lifetime, which was something which was a message that Srila Prabhupada was very keen on spreading in the Western world. But unless you become Krishna consciousness and taking the Vedic version, all your endeavors may be in vain. That means all the work that you're doing may be in vain. All the hard work that you're doing could just be so much wasted time, wasted life. Because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. This is perfection of religion. Yes, definitely. Lord Chaitanya gave us his Shikshastikam. In there, it says that all glory to the Sankirtan movement. It's talking about the process of chanting Hare Krishna, saying that chanting Hare Krishna removes the dirt from the mirror of the mind. Therefore, you're able, once this dirt is removed, you're able to see yourself as you really are, which is a servant of Krishna, a servant of the Supreme Lord. That's one's basic identity, to be a servant of Krishna. It is everlasting. Yes, definitely, it's everlasting. Krishna himself promises in Bhagavad Gita, the one who takes up this process but doesn't finish it is ensured a better birth in his next life. For example, amongst a family of yogis, amongst those who are practicing the process of transcendental knowledge. It is everlasting. Yes, Krishna promises that whatever service you do to him doesn't go in vain. It's always remembered by him. It's joyfully performed. Yes, it's definitely joyfully performed. In the purport, it mentions Narottama Das Thakur. Narottama Das Thakur was a very great bhajan writer. He wrote a bhajan called Shri Shri Kognitai Mayapo Sashe Ki. Yes, this Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. If one's never felt any joy in taking part in this temple worship, then his heart's definitely steel framed. If one's never felt any joy singing Nati Pada Kamala or Jaya Neela Pramadana, then you basically, your heart's steel framed, I'm afraid to say. It's joyfully performed. When Narottama Das Thakur says, when will that opportune moment come to us, when we'll be shedding of the body as soon as we chant the Lord Gauranga's name? When chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears in the eyes? So yes, it's definitely joyfully performed. So in the purport, it mentions, when a devotee becomes material very opulent, he should not think he is enjoying the results of his fruitive activities. So a search for a devotee who that might become applicable to. So King Yudhisthira in the Mahabharata, at one time he was materially very opulent, but unfortunately that material, all those material opulences were lost in the dice game. So I came across Maharaj Ambarish. He was definitely materially very opulent, and he was definitely very good at using these opulences in his devotional service. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam 9:4:18-20, could you get that up on the computer, do you think? 9:4:18-20, because it deals with Maharaj Ambarish. 9 for 18 to 20. So you can go down to the translation, please. So yeah, from this we can see that Maharaj was a very great devotee of the Lord. In fact, in the 9 processes of bhakti, each one of these processes, there's a devotee who became attained perfection by executing this process of bhakti. But Maharaj Ambarish is noted as he basically performed all 9 processes of bhakti perfectly. He's a very great devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Ambarish. So a devotee in this material world uses all material opulences for the service of the Lord because he is planning how to serve the Lord with these opulences as advised by the Lord himself. Whatever material opulence is within his possession, he engages to expand the glories and service of the Lord. So also this purport is pointing us in the direction of Bhakti Yoga. It's mentioning the process of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So Karma Kanda is basically mentioning the Vedas as basically sacrifices to attain the heavenly planets. And Jnana Kanda is basically mental speculation about the Supreme Lord. However, in Bhakti Yoga, where Prabhupada mentions Anukule Krishna Shilanam, that's an excerpt from a longer sloka. Anabilisha Sunyam, Jnana Karma, Anavritam, Anukule Krishna Nano, Shilanam Bhakti Uttara. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Now, the purport of that verse is that one of the purports of that verse is that the pure devotee is basically interested in serving Krishna. In the purest possible manner. Is serving the Lord free from karma and jnana. There's a significant word in the verse, kata. Now, kata can be Krishna kata, Hari kata. These are both considered as being discourses about the Lord. Or there's Gramya kata, which is village talk. So I think I'll end this class here and ask for any comments or questions.
In the main verse, it says that those who potentially hear instruction in this
Well, Prahlad Maharaj was instructed in the womb, wasn't he? By Narada Muni. So maybe from there. Also in 15:15, Bhagavad Gita, it says, oh gosh, I am in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. I think that basically the super soul gives instruction from within. Super soul's in the heart. But you should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me. Yeah, you need to purify your consciousness first. So you should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me. That's not so difficult for a devotee, because we've got morning class, for example. We've got the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can remember these throughout the day. But it doesn't matter that you're in the material world. Well, Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee, one of the 12 Mahajans. So it's considered that he's well versed in spiritual matters, isn't it? Really, even though he's only 5 years old, he stuck to his guns in the face of Hiranyakashipu's torments. Really, so so he's a very great devotee, whichever way you look at it. Anybody else? Any comments or questions?
How Prahlad was able to assimilate knowledge other than just one another.
I mean, when he went to school, he was instructing his fellow classmates in the process of Bhakti Yoga, wasn't he? Classmates were hearing from him, not the teachers. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad, what did you hear today in the classroom? He replied, Shravanam, Kirtan, Vishnu, Padasevanam, all the rest of it. Yeah. So how would he get that? How would he get to that? Yeah.
Prabhupada said that if disciples had been sent by the Guru Maharaj to assist him in the mission, so they weren't just thought that they were very quickly they became inclined to Krishna consciousness and took it up. And in the beginning, it was hardly any books, knowledge. But I think now that there's action indicating that they had some past contact with the Lord themselves, and so they were able to easily pick it up. So they continued up in various disciples to Prahlad, there were only one big family, and then very quickly they gravitated towards Krishna consciousness and Krishna service. So essentially, Prahlad must be in the same category because of that same security and attachment that one of the leaders who was another lady who was ignorantly
Even though Lord Srimad is speaking to Bhagavatam, message is not moving forward to Bhagavatam. Just as Krishna speaks to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, he's actually instructing everyone, including Arjuna, as the sounding board. In other words, they say you instruct the daughter to instruct the daughter-in-law. So we know that Prahlad Maharaj was totally absorbed in Krishna, so he basically wasn't really into the world. And he was continuously hearing messages through not only Narada Muni, but he was connected with the spiritual and the Lord Shiva in the heart. And then at the end, Lord Shiva said, therefore give up two of his activities and worship me, which is what he was doing all along. He was a 5-year-old boy. So basically, this message is meant for those who are not devotees or who may be on the kind of path of devotional service. So, I just wanted to say that this instruction is not specifically meant for all of us.
Thank you. Thanks. Anybody else? Any comments or questions?
Yeah, it seems something better than viewing the same discipline for all this. It seems like quite a lot of the general instruction for everyone that we should always continue to hear and be absorbed. So that's like the highest standard, and I don't know if that's like on receiving concession for people who are not able to do that.
He's telling you this is the standard, therefore this is how you do it. You give up fruit activities and worship. And that's what Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita. It's not a process that we stop and go and move something, a work in progress. At first, it may not be able to give up fruit activities. Krishna tells us, well, you can't give up fruit activities. You give up the result of the activities. So, it is a lofty goal, but it can be able to the instruction on how to do it in the last.
You should always continue to hear the instructions and messages given by me. But Lord Chaitanya is telling us how to chant Hare Krishna continually. So
I also just read that in the 10th that if you can do nothing else other than just hear about Krishna every day, that's sufficient.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.